I'm sorry that it has been so long since I recorded our last chapter. I had a little bit of a cold. I was sick this week, and I was at school setting up our classroom, your old classroom, and I'm getting ready for my new third graders. So it's been a busy week. I have been thinking about our book. We're almost at the end, as you know. So I'm off to football practice with my boys here in just a few minutes, but I figured this was a perfect time to read our next chapter, which is The Maze. We're finally there. Let's see what happens. The walls were stone, dry and rough, and the floors were smooth. The air smelled of 100 years of undisturbed dust. Delicious. Very swiftly, it became dark. The walls were lit with salamandric fire. Ooh, what a great word. Salamandric, meaning it has the same... Millie has been very upset about the cicadas making so much noise. So if something is described as salamandric, it means that it has the same characteristics of a salamander. And I'm very curious as to what fire and salamanders can have in common. Perhaps color. It's very colorful. When I think of a salamander, I don't know about you, I just think of that it's like slippery and wet, and fires are not slippery and wet. So we'll just ponder on that for a little bit and see if, as we keep reading, if it becomes a little bit more clear. They came to a fork in the way. Left, she said. Remember, she's been repeating these directions over and over ever since she took the potion. Though he didn't need her to say it. He knew. She's said it so much that he's memorized the directions too. And at the next turning, he spoke first. Left again, he said, and she smiled. It's familiar, she said. I've been here hundreds of times before. I know it. She tried to smile. I always had a terrible sense of direction before. Not now. They walked deeper in, their steps and breath, the only sound in the absolute silence of the dark stone. Her face was drenched with cold sweat from the effort of walking. Once they stopped, and she sat on the floor for a few minutes. She wiped her face on her shirts. What can I do? How can I make it easier? She held out her hands. Help me up. We'd better go on. Right and then left, he said. Right, and the arrows, if they're still there. He nodded. The arrows were taken from the quills of a manticore's tail, fletched with feathers from a hippogriff, and tipped with a carchedon poison. You wouldn't survive being grazed by one. They reached a turning. Now, said Moll, over there. He picked a loose rock from the maze floor and threw it. An arrow erupted from the wall. It's kind of reminding me of Indiana Jones, for those of you that have seen that series of movies. Struck the opposite wall of the tunnel and disappeared. He threw a stone again. This time an arrow erupted from the opposite side. With it came a whiff of poison. Ooh. Carchedon, said Christopher, a smell I wouldn't mind forgetting. They dropped to their knees, then their stomachs. Keep your whole body low, said Moll. Don't lift your head. They crawled forward. The movement of their bodies and the dust triggered the spring in the wall, and 3 knife-sharp arrows, barely an inch above their heads, flew past. Seems very dangerous, this maze. Christopher forced himself not to jerk upward. This now, said Moll, is the hail of them, so that she knows that there's a lot more coming. Let me go first, he said, just in case. That small gesture, Christopher going before Moll, says a lot about him, doesn't it? He's willing to sacrifice himself because he knows how important she is, and that really tells us a lot about his character, doesn't it? And it also tells us a lot about how dedicated he is as her friend and to the cause of trying to save all the creatures. He inched forward, and immediately the air above him was thick and shrill as a storm of arrows flew in both directions over their heads. Christopher felt one graze his hair. He pressed his face into the ground, trying not to let the rope tingle as he crept. He could hear Moll behind them. And then, blessedly, there was the turning up ahead, right, and he took it, and rose, aching to his feet. A glow of triumph warmed him. So you guys know that this probably is not the end. Like, they're probably not safe, right? We think as readers, we can take a moment to breathe, but we know that there's probably going to be some more danger up ahead. Still not dead. Come on. They walked on. She was breathing hard now with effort. She had one arm around his shoulder and her left foot dragged. Remember, she has not been well since she drank the potion, I should say. Minutes passed with only their soft tread and their breath. The dark grew greater, the lights further apart. "Stop!" cried Moll. "Christopher! The chasm!" He halted in the flickering light. "The chasm has grown. It's right here. Stop. Don't go forward." Or is it chasm? I'm pretty sure it's chasm. Sorry. She told him about the chasm on the boat. It was a great hole with a ledge on each side. They dug it so deep, she said, that you would fall for a whole minute before you reached the bottom. If you fell, your bones would never be recovered. They'd be too far to see, but there's a ledge, a foot wide, and you can inch your way around if you're not afraid. If you fall, you die. Christopher stared ahead into the darkness, but it shouldn't be for another 20 paces. I was counting 30 paces after the left turn. He edged forward and then reared backward, sick with shock. What he had taken for a shadow was in fact a vast and terrible hole. The man in the heart of the maze, he must have made it larger, she said. And look, the ledge. The ledge along the wall now was barely 2/3 of the length of his foot. His stomach sank. Her voice was tiny with despair. "What do I do? My legs aren't steady enough." She looked over the edge and her whole body shook. "I'd fall." He looked back the way they had come. They could not turn back now. "Then I'll go on alone," he said. "You sit here and wait for me." "You can't." Terror rose in her, a child's terror. "You'll die." "There's no other way. I'll come back, okay?" "You aren't the immortal, Christopher. He'll kill you." He looked down at the chasm and back at Moll. "I'm not the immortal, but I know her. I know what you would do if it was the other way around." There was silence. "Moll, I'll come back. Just wait for me." He could hear her gasping with small, smothered sobs as he approached the chasm. This big black hole. In a black blur, stretching down beneath his feet, he felt the taste of bile rise in his mouth. He pressed his back against the wall and stepped, feet turned out sideways onto the ledge. So he's like kind of walking like a ballerina around the ledge. Slowly, he began to edge along, using his hands to grip at the rough stone wall as he went. The wall of the maze now was the natural rock of the cave. It had bulges and growths on it, which made it viciously painful to press his back against, but it gave him handholds. He remembered something he had once been told, that vertigo is not the fear of falling. It is the fear that you will jump. The blackness called to him. For one moment, it felt inevitable that he would simply lean forward, that his body would pull him into the dark. Good. He stopped, felt himself shake. He forced himself to keep sliding his feet along the 5-inch outcrop. So he only has 5 inches for both of his feet to kind of stay steady above this deep, dark hole. And then without warning, his sliding foot was hanging out over nothing. The ledge had ended. He lurched. His hand shot out and gripped a knot in the wall, steadying himself. "You're not going to die," he whispered. "That is not how this ends." There's no way forward, no way to reach solid land. But on the opposite wall, there were larger outcrops, sideways stalactites. Sorry guys, I'm still recovering from this cold. Some small, some a foot in length, like fists sticking from the wall. The rope, he thought. The rope had a loop at one end, shaking now so hard his teeth chattered, he used his free hand to slide the rope from his shoulder. He swung the rope, aiming for a protruding outcrop of rock on the other side. The first time he missed, and the rope dropped down into the darkness. The second time again, and the third, it dropped, and each time he felt his stomach swoop as if it might pull him in after it. He took a breath and forced his body to still itself. He thought of Maul and of Gelifin chewing on his hair. He thought of the unicorns. He thought of his grandfather amid a crowd of seagulls, of his father sitting next to his bed at night, of the half-remembered face of his mother. He thought of the blue shining world and of what the man in the maze would do to it. He threw the rope again. It caught. The loop held. He tugged at it gently at first and then much harder. He set up one brief, wordless prayer and launched himself out into space above the chasm. So now he is swinging from a rope across this vast darkness. The rope creaked. Christopher swung in a long, fevered parabola and landed on hands and knees on the other side of the abyss. He made it! I'm over, he called. I'm safe. But he could hear no response. There was no triumph as there had been with the arrows. Maul was not with him. He got to his feet, pulled the rope after him, and went on. He turned left, right. He took the next 2 turns, right, tight right again, and abruptly the lights stopped. Maul hadn't warned him of this. It must be new. He was in sudden, total darkness. It was so dark that he could not tell if his eyes were open or closed, and there was something else, a chill mist, which he could not see but could feel, dampening his hands and rising into his face and nose. He hesitated. Then he laid one hand on the wall and continued. Left, right, left again. It grew colder and wetter as he went deeper in. His heart clenched tighter than it had ever been. The dark closed over him. That is the end of the chapter. Our next chapter is called The Gray Mist, which has begun to settle over Christopher. The Gray Mist is a very short chapter. And then we are on to At the Center. Oh, there's a scary picture in there I'm not going to show you right now. Looks very creepy. And then we have The Immortal. We have The Flight. These are all very short chapters, my friends. The Funeral March. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to know whose funeral that is. The Kindness of Sphinxes. Hi, Cal.
Just so you know, we believe in George for his football game.
Yes.
And his football practice.
And we believe in you too. Mm-hmm. The Beginning Again. Christopher's Journey and What She Said. Oh my gosh. So we have just a few more short chapters. They've made it into the maze, and I'm just so curious as to what happens next. Can't wait to read the next chapter with you all. Love you. Hope you're enjoying the sunshine. See you soon.